from Chicago and the Philippines. A comprehensive review of the week's special community events, featuring many exciting personalities, handled by the most professional Chicago Philippine Reports TV staff.
COVID-19 cases in the Philippines at 1.9 million Friday after over 17,000 new infections were recorded. The last 100,000 cases were recorded in a span of 1 week. Active cases have risen to more than 142,000. 6,700 recoveries have been recorded, while there were 113 new deaths. The World Health Organization does not see the virus disappearing anytime soon.
Even with all our best efforts, it now seems clear that globally, the virus will not disappear, at least not in the near future. And while the virus is spreading anywhere, every country remains at risk.
Dr. Kasai sees two scenarios. First, people will learn to live with the virus. But this doesn't mean giving up and trying to control the virus. Like other vaccine-preventable diseases, efforts in limiting the spread and protecting the vulnerable will still continue. The second scenario is something everyone must prevent from happening.
The second scenario is where other more dangerous variants are able to evolve. Variants that spread even more easily, cause more severe diseases, or are resistant to existing vaccines. Which of these two scenarios becomes reality depends on which individual and collective actions we choose to take in the weeks and months ahead.
The Philippine Health Department has already confirmed a community transmission of the Delta variant in the Capital Region and Region 4A. As a matter of fact, all regions except for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao have recorded a local case. But this doesn't mean the variant of concern has become dominant just yet, since not all regions are regularly able to submit samples for sequencing. This may soon change after almost 300 million pesos have been approved to fund the expansion of the country's biosurveillance capacity. All samples for genome sequencing are currently being sent to Manila. But once genome sequencing happens in Visayas and Mindanao, the DOH says around 350 samples could be processed for each island group.
Ang pagpapalakas po ng biosurveillance capacity natin ay malaki ang maitutulong. Hindi lang po sa ating COVID-19 response, ngunit pati na rin po sa ibang mga disease outbreaks na maaring kaharapin ng bansa in the future.
She adds sequencing in these areas could begin in over a month.
Senators disputed President Rodrigo Duterte's statement that congressional hearings are merely meant for posturing. In a public address Thursday night, Duterte urged the public not to believe in the Senate investigations because nothing comes out from these probes anyway.
Pakinggan mo yung mga ibang senador dyan, meron talagang masabi. After an investigation, 1 or 2 or 3 days in your hearing, wala na. Walang rekomendasyon, walang dinimanda, walang napriso. Puro postura lang, question.
Senate President Vicente Soto III reminds the president that most of his appointed officers are now facing charges because of the Senate's investigation on PhilHealth. Senator Richard Gordon, the chair of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, asserts their inquiries had led to the conviction of various high-ranking officials, including former immigration officials Al Argusino and Michael Robles. He adds, various officials from the Bureau of Customs were also removed from their posts after the Senate investigated the alleged illegal drugs importation.
Mr. President, konting respeto rin naman po. We respect you, I respect you, because you're the President of the Philippines. I always respect the title, Mr. President, and the man. Pero huwag naman ho tayo magsasalita sa co-equal branch of government na hindi ginagawa ang trabaho nila. Sapagkat napakahalaga po niyan.
Senator Panfilo Lacson meanwhile tells the president to mind his own executive branch, which he describes as incompetent and corrupt.
Kaya naman hindi nakakasuhan yung ilang matataas na opisyal na naging subject sa pag-iimbestiga namin dahil pinagtatanggol niya sa halip na makasuhan. Hindi naman trabaho ng Senado na magsampa ng demanda, hindi ba? Ang executive branch, yun lang magsasampa ng demanda.
Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon insists the Senate should continue doing its investigations.
Kaya tuloy lang po tayo. Halongkatin natin ang mga dapat malaman ng taong bayan. It is our responsibility as duly elected representatives of the people to unearth truths, especially concerning disbursements of public funds.
Meanwhile, Duterte also vowed to audit the whole government if he wins as vice president in the 2022 national elections. This despite the fact that Duterte has not yet made public his own statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth or SALN.
I will do that if I become vice president. Ako na lang rin ang mag-audit sa lahat ng gobyerno. Lahat. Pati yung akin. Huwag umpisa ako sa akin.
He also told the public that he will never fool them.
Ako yung pinakahuling taong manloko sa inyo.
Something a lawmaker found laughable.
Eh di ba sa kanya na mismo nagsabi na bakit siya pinaniwalaan ng mga bumoto sa kanya at tinawag niya stupido?
Via Times, vital news, vibrant views for the Filipino Asian communities in Chicago. Via Times for your most interesting and exciting reading and your party coverages. Via Times has very interesting columnists. You name it, Via Times has it. Law, Filipino news, dentistry, immigration, humor, serious opinions, health, beauty, mysticism, Bata Corner, showbiz, and intelligently written editorials. Call Via Times at 773-866-0811.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. Welcome to Veronica's segment of the show today. I have a very exciting, surprisingly very young physician as my guest today, and I have to read this introduction because he has such an impressive biodata and experience in this young age. Let me introduce first to you Dr. Dan Garganera. Welcome to our show, Dr. Garganera. And he's a Filipino-American, very popular Filipino-American physician in the Will County area. Okay, let me read a little bit about his bio. Dr. Garganera is a Phil-Am doctor, an infectious disease specialist. Isn't that impressive enough? Of the Southwest Infectious Diseases Associates, where he is the infection control chairman. Is that right? Infectious.
That's right.
Infection control chairman. He is currently the medical director of the Will County TB clinic. TB stands for tuberculosis, right? Is that TB, tuberculosis? Dr. Garganera?
That's right. Yes, it is.
Okay. And the medical advisor for the Will County Health Department. Okay, that's very impressive. What I've read is really actually very impressive. Here's some more. Recently, Dr. Garganera was given a recognition as the outstanding Filipino-American physician of the Midwest by the FAHM. FAHM stands for Filipino-American History Month, Dr. Garganera, right? History Month.
That is right. Yes.
And was honored a few weeks ago by Governor Pritzker for his outstanding work, dedication, and service to the community with regards to COVID-19 pandemic. That's a very, very interesting topic that we have to talk about. In addition, he graduated as magna cum laude from a medical university in the Philippines, garnering major awards and recognition in his hands. Magna cum laude, believe it or not, in medical school. Oh my God, what else? Am I missing something else?
Well, among many other things, I was able to do a lot of other lectures. I've been a speaker for different drug companies. I've been in the school paper before. I'm still doing many other things like writing. And back in the Philippines, I was chosen as one of the 10 most outstanding students of the Philippines just before I came to the United States. So TOSP back then. So those are some of my achievements back in the day. About infectious diseases, about COVID-19, and working in 2 different hospitals, 2 different clinics, as well as the health department. So a lot of juggling around different kinds of responsibility.
Wow. Oh, wow. And how old are you at this young age? I'm sorry, we have to tell our viewing audience how old you are, how young you are.
I'm 52 years old now, so time flies when you're having fun.
53 years old, right?
And
53.
52.
52.
52, yeah.
Right. My God. All right. Congratulations. And we salute you to all with all your accomplishments and awards. And we are here in the Filipino American community of Chicago. We are really very proud of you, hearing about your accomplishments. Although we don't see much of your face in our gatherings, maybe one of these days we can introduce you to some of these groups. Are you a member of the Philippine Medical Association?
Currently, I'm not a member of the PMA right now. I wish I would have more time, but I have to juggle multiple things. So it's been so busy. It's so difficult to join organizations, and with a busy schedule, I don't think I'll be able to do much in terms of social gatherings, unfortunately.
Well, of course, we understand that. All right. Here's my question now. As a respiratory specialist, you must have done and must have been involved in this problem of ours, health problems that we are experiencing recently, which is the COVID-19. What have you, or what can you tell our viewing audience about what a respiratory specialist does? I know it's #1 physician, or when you have COVID, you have to go to a respiratory or pulmonologist because it affects your lungs first, right, doctor?
Yeah, so COVID-19 is an infection that affects the whole body, and the majority of cases affect the lungs. So for patients who are infected with COVID-19, the most important doctors are us, the infectious disease specialists. And when patient starts getting pulmonary symptoms or respiratory distress, then they need to see a pulmonologist or critical care specialist. Most of the time when they get admitted to the hospital, the first thing they consult is us, infectious disease. But when patient starts getting to be more short of breath, needing more oxygen, then we call in the pulmonologists to help us manage the case. So it could also, COVID-19 could also affect other organs. It could cause strokes, for example. It could cause heart attacks and blood clots in the lungs. It could cause blood clots in the legs. It could also cause gastrointestinal problems like diarrhea and vomiting, and liver problems, and could cause kidney failure. So COVID-19 could affect the whole body. That's why it's so bad. And the majority of patients actually suffer pulmonary infection or pulmonary distress. That's why the pulmonologists are involved. So the top 2 busiest specialties nowadays are the pulmonologists and thus infectious disease.
I see. Is it mainly really the lungs instead of the heart that gets affected by this COVID?
Yes, when you inhale the virus, it infects the upper respiratory tract, then it goes to the lungs, and then later on it could affect the heart, it could affect the brain, it could affect other organs. But that's the portal. Yes, and that's why patients will get respiratory problems right away.
When you say all other organs, just like what are all other organs besides the heart, the lungs and the heart, and what else that will get affected afterwards?
So because COVID-19 causes clotting, it could cause blood clots in the lungs. It could cause blood clots in the legs. It could also cause heart problems like heart attacks. It could affect the brain and it could cause a stroke. It could also affect secondarily your kidneys and cause kidney failure. In some patients, it affects the bowels too. We have a lot of patients coming in with diarrhea and vomiting from COVID. It also affects of smell and taste. You could lose your sense of smell, your sense of taste. And liver problems are common too in COVID patients.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that. First time I heard about this. Well, with these variants that we're having, I mean, we will be having supposedly, which is the way it was predicted, it is going to be worse than what we have right now. Is that so?
Well, it's a virus. It's a coronavirus, and viruses mutate. All viruses mutate, and coronavirus is able to mutate and develop variants. Currently, there's so many variants already, like 45 different variants. The common thing we hear is the Delta variant. There's the Beta variant. There's the P1. But the thing we see in the news a lot now is the Delta variant. These viruses the variants are more contagious, but they don't necessarily cause worse disease. And for patients who already had infection before, they're less likely to get infected by these new variants because they have immunity. And vaccination also helps in some cases. But the Delta variant and these other variants are expected to appear just like any other variants and any other viruses, such as the flu. For example, the flu virus. Every year, patients we're recommended to get a flu shot every year because the virus mutates every year, for example. But if you have immunity to it already, for example, if you had previous infection, then the variants are less likely to infect you. If you have immunity against it, it's less likely to cause severe disease as well.
Oh, immunity. Isn't it that, yeah, once you have COVID, you already have the antibodies in your body, and so is it still necessary to have a vaccination?
Well, for those with natural infection, you have actually a better immunity than the ones who just get the vaccination. Those who get the vaccination will develop antibodies. You could develop a little bit of T-cell immunity as well. I don't want to go technical too much, but if you had actually a natural infection, you have beta cell immunity, you have immunity, and you could develop memory cells so that if you get exposed to the virus again, you will immediately develop more antibodies again. So the recommendation now is for the boosters, for example, is to allow the body to produce more antibodies. But for those who had previous infection, the benefit is not really that clear. But for those who had previous infections, it is expected that you will be more immune or less likely to get severe disease if you get it.
Okay, how about, it seems that many people, not majority, many people have already had their 2 doses of shots. Okay, and now the government is talking about another booster, a booster shot. What do you think of that?
So that was just approved a few days ago. The goal, as I mentioned just a minute ago, is that it is for allowing the body to produce more antibodies. The approval so far by the government is just for immune compromised patients. They haven't, even though there was a White House briefing, if you remember a few days ago, they recommended a booster for all, but the FDA so far has only bad immune system. The drug company, the Pfizer drug company that produces their vaccine, had requested to get approval for their booster, and their data show that there's an increased antibody production, but unfortunately, the data is just about 1 month or 2 months after that. So this is still being considered, and it's not been FDA approved yet to get a booster for everybody. So currently, the approval is only for patients with bad immune systems, like HIV, chemotherapy patients, for those on high-dose steroids or biologic drugs who have an immune-compromised situation that they will not be able to fight off the COVID virus if they get infected.
What kinds of illnesses what kinds of illnesses are exempted to the vaccine? People with asthma or what? Are they exempted to get a vaccine?
Exemption from the vaccine. The only there's two main categories of that have absolute contraindication to the vaccine. The number one is anaphylactic shock allergy. So if you have a severe allergy and you have anaphylactic shock, that's a contraindication specifically to the vaccine. The other one is if you had a history of blood clot, especially a recent blood clot. If you had like a pulmonary embolism or a DVT, which is a blood in the legs or in the arms, or any recent blood clotting, and that's especially within 6 months, you should not get the vaccine. So those are the two main things that are definite contraindications.
All right, very good. Okay, doctor, so far, you yourself personally, you have been exposed with what you're doing. You have been exposed to many people who have had COVID. How do you take care of yourself?
Well, that is a constant process we have to deal with. It's so hard. You have to wear your what we call the PPE or personal protective equipment. And for example, in my worst day when it first started back in March of 2020, one day I saw 53 COVID patients in one afternoon, and I saw each one of them in person. So the recommendation is to wear your PPE, which will be an N95 mask if you're seeing a COVID patient. It's recommended to wear eye protection or a goggle or a face shield. That's recommended, and we're supposed to wear gowns and our gloves. We created the protocols in the hospital when it was first, when COVID first came, we had no guidelines anywhere. Everybody was learning about it. And so I was one of the first ones who created the protocol in our hospital system and working with the department, and we were able to create these protocols to protect the staff. So we need to have training, put them, take them off, not to contaminate yourself, especially touching your face. You have to be careful. Remember the 20-second hand after social distancing. So that's how I protect myself, by following strictly the guidelines for PPE.
And up to now, you have been successful in protecting yourself and your family.
But with God's grace, with God's grace.
Okay, this is really very interesting. I think you're the only, the only Filipino American actually who is a respiratory specialist.
Oh, I'm not a respiratory specialist. I'm just an infectious disease specialist.
Infectious disease specialist. To me, it's the same. Okay. All right, doctor. One last word. Your recommendation for people, for our viewers out there, to really take care of themselves for any kinds of variants that are really coming to attack us, which is the Delta, Lambda, Kappa, whatever Greek words that are going to throw at us. So what can you recommend?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Via Times and you for giving me this opportunity. And our Filipino, you're welcome. And the Filipino community is really wonderful here. We help each other. There's a lot of Filipino nurses. There are actually other physicians too, and other healthcare providers, CNAs. You see a lot of Filipinos, and we help each other. Our Philippine consulate to us, and Times and our Filipino restaurants and businesses are all helping each other. And when Governor Pritzker gave me the award 2 weeks ago, he was so congenial and he was very thankful for us workers. He was the only Filipino representative there. So one of my goals, besides protecting my own staff in my 2 hospitals, is to help advise Filipinos. We need to basically continue to live life. The COVID-19 is not going anywhere. There will be, as you were saying, different variants. There's Alpha, Beta, Delta, and all the Greek alphabets will eventually show up. So what we need to do is to do things, simple things like hand washing, masking if we're close to other people. We need to do the hand washing. We need to try to boost our immune system. And how do we do that? By having good nutrition. If you could do organic or natural, have enough immune boosting food and vegetables. You need to keep your body healthy. Bad vices. We noticed that smokers, alcoholics are the worst. And those diabetics, especially diabetics and obese people who are controlling their diet and their diabetes, do poorly. So vitamins and controlling diabetes and having exercise and vitamins and minerals in your body will help protect you. Some of the good things that anecdotally are recommended are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, and all these other minerals and vitamins could help you boost your immune system. Because we've seen a lot of different diseases before, like the flu, and people get infected, people die, but the majority of us recover. But for those with a good immune system, will be able to fight back. So common sense things that we've been recommending before are the things to go. So we need to continue living our life. That's the bottom line, with the precautions, and that's what we should do to be able to protect ourselves.
Well, very, very interesting. And yes, that's a very good advice for us to take care of ourselves and protect ourselves from COVID. But doctor, one last question. Do you think this kind of lifestyle that we're doing right now with the mask and gloves and 6 feet distancing, which is our new normal, will be the kind of lifestyle that we will be living from now until when?
Well, if you remember back in June, we actually went to phase 5 in Illinois. The restaurants opened, the museums opened, the hotels opened, and even the theaters open. So there's what we call metrics. So if we get enough herd immunity, by either vaccination or being infected previously, we're already immune. And if we get the rates back down again, hopefully less than 3% or 1%, we should be able to live our life normally again. COVID-19 hopefully someday will just become like another flu virus or another cold virus, that it wouldn't, subject us to these draconian restrictions that we have to do or face because of the pandemic right now. So I'm hoping it's not going to be forever. We're currently still in phase 5 in Illinois. The rates have been hovering around 6-7%, but in certain areas it's worse, in other areas it's better. So, and they come in surges or waves. So as more of us get immunity, and as more of us take the necessary precautions and get smarter in dealing with this, we're going to live life normally. The new normal. Someday, I wish we don't have to wear masks anymore. In it was removed recently, but now it's been reinstated because the rates are up again. So eventually this will go down again, normally again.
Eventually, hopefully, oh, with God's blessing. Well,
So even when it started, they were saying it's probably going to last all the way to the later part of 2021, maybe 2022. So if I were to put a time frame, that's probably what I would say. So we're getting, it's just we were shocked a little bit by the reopening of everything and the new variants that came about, but hopefully it's gonna get better again soon. That's my hope and my prayer.
great, terrific. You've heard it from the expert Filipino American respiratory doctor, not specialist. All right. Thank you so much. And we would like to invite you later on, one of these days in the future, to update us on COVID-19. Maybe it will be COVID-20 already.
By the way, I would like to thank all the Filipino nurses out there, including my own wife, who's a Filipino nurse also, and everybody who's helping each other and supporting each other and supporting their family members who are frontline workers and essential workers too. Because without us helping each other, we won't be able to go through this pandemic on our own. So this is a good thing that we're helping each other as a community and as family.
Correct. You're right. And we salute you for all your accomplishments, for what you're doing for the Filipino name and for the community. At maraming salamat po, Dr. Garganera. And, maraming salamat. You're familiar with that. Thank you in our Filipino language. Thank you for gracing our show. At mabuhay po tayong lahat.
We would like to welcome all of you to Baladna Jewelry. We have a very big selection of 21 karat gold jewelry imported from the Middle East, from Dubai, Saudi, and Bahrain. And we have a very big selection of diamond. We offer free financing for 6 months, and we have a layaway system which you can leave your stuff for 3 months. We repair gold and we buy old gold. Welcome to Baladna Jewelry.
Salamat po.
Good afternoon. This is Bridget Carino Cueto bringing you this week's local news from our community. As homeowners in Cook County receive their 2020 second installment tax bills in the mail, they are encouraged to look at the bottom left corner to ensure that the correct exemption is applied. If a homeowner believes that they are entitled to an exemption that is not reflected on their tax bill, they can apply for what is called a certificate of error. The certificate of error provides homeowners an opportunity to redeem missing exemptions for up to 3 years in addition to the current tax year. Homeowners can now apply for the 2020, 2019, 2018, and 2017 tax years. Certificate of error applications with copies of supporting documentation can be filed online, by mail, or in person. Homeowners are strongly encouraged to apply online, as representatives from the assessor's office can easily provide updates on the status of applications. The Office of the State Fire Marshal announced the application period is open for the Small Equipment Grant Program. All interested departments should send an application to OFSM no later than October 22, 2021. OSFM will award $2.5 million to eligible fire departments and ambulance services during this application period. The Small Equipment Grant Program was established to provide grants up to $26,000 for the purchase of small firefighting and ambulance equipment. A total of $3.3 million was awarded to 149 fire departments and districts and EMS providers across the state in June. Many fire departments are facing budget cuts while their operating costs continue to increase. Our small equipment grant program allows these departments to acquire items that they may otherwise have to wait to purchase on or just do without. Illinois' firefighters and EMS personnel deserve our support to safely and effectively provide service to their communities, said Illinois State Fire Marshal Matt Perez. Go-karts rule the streets in downtown Rock Island, Illinois during Labor Day weekend on September 4th through the 5th, 2021. Since its inaugural event in 1994, the free Extreme Rock Island Grand Prix has worked its way up to becoming one of the highlights of the kart racing calendar. The annual Grand Prix is the largest and safest go-kart street race in the world and the only race in the U.S. that is sanctioned for international drivers. It is the premier event in the country and features the top drivers in karting. Kart Sport magazine has called it the best event in North America. The Rock Island Grand Prix is an FIA-CIK licensed international event. The action starts Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. and concludes around 5 p.m. Live music on Saturday starts at 8 p.m. Sunday's opening ceremonies will be at 10:30 a.m., with the driver's parade followed by the kids' autograph session at the start and finish line. In addition to the practice rounds, qualifying rounds, and heat races on Saturday, there will be 14 races on Sunday afternoon. The Midwest Asian Health Association, MAHA, is pleased to announce a grant award from the CDC Foundation to facilitate an Asian Health Equity Alliance. The purpose of this collaborative is to improve effective and equitable access to the COVID vaccines and testing serving under-sourced and disproportionately affected Asian immigrant populations in Chicago. MAHA is honored to be selected as one of the 5 agencies nationwide receiving this 2-year award. MAHA is the leading agency and will employ its extensive, proven experience as a trusted grassroots organization in Chicago's Asian communities to mobilize a targeted and culturally competent community engagement plan. MAHA and its partners serve primarily low-income and low-literacy Asian populations with limited English proficiency who face language and cultural barriers to healthcare and resources, including barriers related to undocumented immigration status. The North Suburban Legal Clinic hosts free virtual cooking demonstrations with professional chefs on the second Thursday of every month. The clinic invites anyone with questions about domestic violence to ask those questions to the clinic attorneys anonymously in the chat. The cooking demonstrations include a live chat via Ring Central. No domestic violence content will be shown on the video. Guests can log on anonymously using an alias throughout the hour. No registration is required. The next opportunity to participate will be on September 9th, 2021 from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. with MK Freitas. An ethics complaint against the Pritzker administration continues despite reports a state agency apologized for opening an investigation into a school board member who opposes mandating masks in schools. State Senator Chapin Rose said the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation closed an investigation and apologized to his constituent, who is a doctor and a school board member. But Rose said his ethics complaint over the matter has not been dismissed. IDFRP has not returned messages seeking comments, but provided a statement to Capitol Facts. IDFPR Acting Secretary Mario Treto Jr. said after reviewing the case, the agency recommended the case be closed. That's all for today. Thank you for watching our news this week. This is Bridget. See you next time.
Good morning, viewers, and I'd like to thank you all for tuning in today. I'd like to share a couple of passages from Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 and 7. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your request be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ. These passages were written to the Philippian church, and they were undergoing tremendous persecution because this was during the time of Nero, and they were living in a colony which is part of Rome, a Roman colony, and they were fearful and anxious of their lives because of the persecution that's been going on. And the Apostle Paul wanted to encourage them with these promises and wonderful passages of the scriptures just to inspire them and to encourage them. And so this afternoon, I'd like to encourage you with these words as well, because we are living in a world that is full of trouble. We still have the pandemic, and the Delta variant is wreaking havoc in so many places of the world, even in our own country, the United States. So I'd like to encourage you with these words. So we're going to focus on worry or anxiety. Worry is from the Greek word meremnao. Two root words, merizo, to divide, and nous, mind. So to worry is to have a mind divided between legitimate thoughts and destructive thoughts. So in other words, worry is something that divides our mind when we think about legitimate thoughts or destructive thoughts. And so that creates a tension within us. Did you know that 40% of the things that we worry about never happen? 30% are related to past matters that we don't have any control over. 12% have to do with anxiety about our health, even though there is no illness present except in the imagination. 10% worry about friends and neighbors, and in most cases, there are really no reason for anxiety. Just 8%, notice this, just 8% seems to have some basis in reality. So in other words, most of the things we worry about never happens. And so that's why I'd like to encourage you with these words today. If you are worrying or anxious about something, about where the world is going, in your own circumstance or situations in life, be anxious for nothing. Don't worry about anything. But, see, the Apostle Paul did not end there. He said, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And so he's encouraging us to pray and to turn to God and to depend upon him, to call upon his name in the days of our troubles, so that we can have that confidence to keep going in life, because we know that the great God of the universe is with us. He is there to walk with us. And prayer allows us to have that experience where we are depending on God and we are putting our trust in him. And the Apostle Paul did not end there. He said, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. He encourages us to give thanks to God, to have that attitude of gratitude. Prayer is good. It gives us that connection with God, but coupled with thanksgiving, it becomes even more powerful. Okay? And then the result is this: let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ. So this is a great promise, You will have that peace that surpasses all understanding. It's a supernatural kind of peace. It's a peace that the world cannot give nor understand. It's a peace that only can come from God. And the question is, does prayer change our situation all the time when we go to God? Does He change our situations, and whatever we want, He will grant? Well, not all the time. But this one thing I can assure you, prayer can change you from within. Your attitude towards your circumstances and situations in life. You will have that change of attitude, especially when you couple it with thanksgiving. Because thanksgiving is saying, God, even though I'm going through these situations in my life, I know that what the enemy had meant for evil, you will turn it around and make it for our own good. That's what prayer is all about, and that's what thanksgiving is all about, and that just changes your perspective. So my brothers and sisters, I'd like to encourage you with these words again. Philippians chapter 4, 6 and 7. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ. God bless you, and see you next time.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Melody Dizon, your Health Matters host, and today I do have a special guest. He is very special because he is a really nice person. No, he is a wealth of information, and I always promise to you that I will always bring people on board on the show, can give us tips or any ideas or how we could have a healthy and happy living. So with me today is Dr. Ravanam. I call him Dr. R. Hi, Dr. R. How are you today?
Hi, Melody. How are you?
I'm good. So, obviously the thing that's going around now, and you hear on the news, the Delta variant. As I know, Dr. Ravanam, you do have a visiting practice, home visiting practice. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so then that means that your physicians are visiting at home, just wanting to check how are the Delta variant people compared to the regular traditional COVID-19 people? What have you seen? Any difference as far as severity of the disease, as far as, how they're doing it, coping with it?
A lot of our COVID infected people have had not so good outcomes.
Okay.
And a lot of them, at least 15% of the survivors to 20% have become into a long hauler category. And the rest of them, most of the patients have comorbid factors.
Right.
So that actually increases the severity of the disease process itself. Now, with the Delta variant coming into play, which originated in India,
I heard, yes. Yeah.
It is a scary situation right now. I would encourage everybody masking, distancing, vaccinating,
right,
and hand washing for clearly 20-25 seconds with vigorous rubbing and scrubbing with a soap.
That's right.
Detergent, anything.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're never going to get it under control.
And that's the only way to do it from all the stuff that you had mentioned. But Doc, have there been any patients who's refusing the vaccine? And if there is, how have you talked? How do you deal with them? How do you go forward with those patients?
Don't get me started.
Okay, me too. I'm the same way. I'm so passionate about that. I'm like,
Well, there are people who are have their own questions and doubt, and some of them flatly refuse, and we counsel them the best we can with our providers, and then we have our separate special segment of behavioral health specialists, counselors.
Thank you.
Who then are brought into play
Yeah.
to counsel them on health issues and health maintenance and care,
Correct.
basically. And we are happy to report that we are able to convert them into believers of a vaccine.
Right.
Not for them particularly, but for their loved ones and their family. Because most of our patients are typically homebound and cannot care for themselves.
Right.
People associated around them who take care of them also have to be confident that the patient himself or herself is not infected. So we employ the behavioral health specialists to go and counsel them on receiving a vaccine.
I think that's really, really great. And to think, I didn't even think that far, because you're right. They're coming from somewhere. They're very adamant about not taking the vaccine.
They're not adamant. I would say they're misinformed
or
ill-informed. So our counselors, I forgive me for cutting you short on your segment. Our counselors educate them and say there is nothing to be afraid of for the shot. No other microchip is placed in the vaccine. But having said that, since I come from a little scientific background in vaccines, which I will not disclose, each and every batch has a small protein molecule attached to that batch. And the batch could be 100,000 vaccine batch.
Right.
Just because they need to track who has received or not.
Okay.
Not to trace their bank accounts or their parking tickets or immigration status.
That's worse. That's even worse. Yeah.
So they just want to make sure that they can track who the 100,000 patients are who received it, if there's anything wrong with that batch.
I see. Okay. So, but they themselves don't know it.
No one knows it.
No one knows it. Okay.
No one knows it. It's very, very kept secret and only will be dug into if there is any issue.
Correct. No, and I get it, because then, what if, just say something were to happen? I guess they have to do that fail-safe mechanism, that there's something to go back to.
Something wrong with the batch. Say a crop of some adverse effects in that particular group, then they can go back and trace and see if that batch of vaccine was in fact gone through all the quality measures that were supposed to happen in the right way or not. And then they can correct it if they can be corrected. That's all they need. That's all is the reason why they put that tag.
On that thing. In your place of work, Doc, do you, because I get this all the time, questions, and they're like, are they allowed to mandate vaccination for coming to work? Because there's a lot of spiels right now going on about that.
I would say that it should be a mandate, because if the workplace draws patients who are sick, then the workers at that workplace should not be the one who's spreading the source.
I truly get that.
That's my opinion. It's not a mandate in my office, but all have the vaccine, except those who were pregnant, lactating at that time.
Right, exactly. And they can
so now they want to go back and start getting their immunization.
That's true. You hear people saying, oh, it's my right. I don't need to inform you about if I have the vaccine or not. It's HIPAA violation and it's my freedom. Well, sometimes they just kind of get off
the track.
Yeah, of the track. I said, where's the reasoning coming from? I think we're thinking more and above beyond that. We're thinking about keeping you alive, keeping everybody breathing and well.
Everyone has their rights. I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
But every other person sitting next to you also has their rights.
Thank you. Right.
So if the other person is masked or didn't come and give you a shake hand or did not sit close to you, keeping their distance, respect that.
That's right. I agree.
So, and if everyone stays united, the saying goes, united we stand, divided we fall.
Right.
And then you've seen that statement coming true again and again.
Yeah.
The new crop of patients who are coming into the hospitals are the ones who were not vaccinated previously.
Yeah.
So
that's a fact.
That should
Is
be
a fact. Yeah.
indication or a signal for people to go and get vaccinated.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
those
you.
are really good insights. And, we always want to hear from different sectors and different people about how they feel about these things. And it's nice to hear it directly from a physician who's been really working out there and seeing patients. And so, folks, again, I have Dr. Ravanam with me. He's been very nice to us to give us his time. Until our next meeting again next week. All right, so this is Melody Dizon again, your Health Matters host, and I have Dr. Ravanam with me. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.